Hey folks, Android Central here. We have got a Droid Eris and a Motorola Droid, both on Verizon. And so it only seems fitting that we do a comparison between the two. We're going to do a browser comparison between the two. We know that the Moto Droid has got a little bit more speed in its processor, and we know that Sense takes up a lot of space on the Eris in terms of overhead. So we're going to clear both the caches on the browsers, and we are going to see which can render a page better. One quick note, it's really difficult to tell from the screen here, but actually on the right, the Droid actually has a much nicer looking screen, not just because of the extra pixels, but it also, the white comes through much whiter, whereas there's a red tint on the Iris, which is on the left, but you can't really tell from the video here. And you can see here I am attempting to type on the default Android keyboard, and well, I need some practice to say the least. This is a reason to consider the Iris over the Droid, even though the Droid is the more popular phone, at least in the blogosphere right now, because the keyboard on the Iris is just so much easier to use software-wise. One other notable thing, you see me jabbing my finger around, the Iris defaults to hiding all of the extra elements, whereas on the Droid, they've got that menu bar up at the top, which is kind of funny. Here I am typing away at the Iris, and you can see I am having a much easier time of it. It's a much better software keyboard. All right, well, let's hit go, and let's start counting. And we are loading, and it is taken a fair bit of time. I think we're actually suffering under some traffic load over at androidcentral.com, which is why we are having some pretty poor load times here. So let's give it another minute, see if we can figure out which one is going to load first. Tick tock, tick tock, tick tick tock, tickety tockety. There we go. So we've got, of course, the Droid pulling down content first, and boom, there's the Iris pulling down content. Now, the other thing you're noticing right away is the Droid gives you the overview look right away, whereas the Iris, because it's still on Android 1.6, gives you that sort of zoomed in view right away, which I find kind of annoying. And there it is. The Droid is finished, and you can scroll around. And here, look, quick scroll test. You can see just how quickly it's able to flick through a page when you go for a fast flick scroll, which is very, very cool. And double tap, zoom right in, rotate the text. It reflows the text. It's well, it's a darned good browser, I tell you what. On the Iris, we've got it finished too, and it also, once it has the page loaded, is able to scroll through fairly quickly on a quick flick scroll. And you can zoom around here as well. Not too shabby. Well, what browser comparison would be complete without a comparison to the iPhone 3GS? We're going to throw the iPhone 3GS on AT&T's network. We're going to leave the Androids over on Verizon's network. And we are going to go to tipb.com, theiPhoneblog.com. Only fitting, since it is, we're comparing it to the iPhone. And one thing that's notable here on all of these devices, you're going to see that it is going to go to the iPhone version of the page. We've got auto detection up on tipb.com, and so it will display that iPhone page for all three when we load them up here. So we're going to give we'll give the iPhone a little head start here. Oh no, we'll give the Droid a head start. I take that back. All right, and we are off to the races. And they are all working. And look at that. Boom, boom. The Droid has got it. And the iPhone 3GS is not too far behind. And there's the Iris. Obviously, this is a very light page because it, there's not a whole lot, to do because it's a mobile theme. So we are going to go down to the bottom here, and we're going to turn off the mobile theme on all three. It's going to pop up an OK button, and I hit the cancel button instead. So the iPhone's going to be a little bit behind the other two, but we'll see if it is able to catch up. So here we go. iPhone 3GS versus Iris versus Droid. Loading up the full version of the iPhone blog. And wow, look at that. The iPhone 3GS has really pulled it down very quickly. It is filling in all the extra bits. And there it is. It is done. iPhone 3GS by a long way. And here comes the Droid. It is catching up, and there's the Iris. Now the Droid is still working a little bit, but we can zoom in and look at content on both devices. And Droid's still working. So is the Iris. Wow. There it is. The Droid is finished, and the Iris is still working a little bit. But yeah, I tell you what, these two, it looks like the 3GS really got that page rendered a lot more quickly, or loaded at least. It is funny that the iPhone is rendering the page a little bit differently, whereas the Droid is going straight to that width there. But that's the way it is. They're both WebKit browsers, but things could be different, and they both can handle landscape, equally well. Although the iPhone kind of wants to give you more of the page there. You can zoom in on the iPhone, zoom in on the Iris, or I'm sorry, the Droid, and you can see the text is quite a little bit bigger on the iPhone there. Although the Droid does let you reflow the text when you zoom way in, which is a nice feature. So there you have it, folks. The Iris, the Droid, and the iPhone 3GS. The iPhone 3GS does still seem to win in terms of loading and rendering pages, although the Droid is not too far behind. It's certainly ahead of the Iris, although again, not that much ahead of the Iris. In all, I think that you've got really nothing to be ashamed about if you're using the Droid for web browsing. It is some pretty quality stuff.